Hello and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council Standing Committees meeting for Wednesday, June 26, 2019. My name is Kim Clark Baskin and I'm the Deputy City Clerk. With us today, we have our sign language interpreter, Logan Showalter. The following is a list of legislation up for preliminary approval by Pittsburgh City Council. Finance and Law Committee, Reverend Burgess is the chair. We have deferred papers. We have Bill number 1338. Ordinance amending, supplementing, and correcting the Pittsburgh Code at Title II, Fiscal, Article 1, Administration, Chapter 219, Operating Budget, so as to add contract and bid information requirements to fiscal impact statements and to further correct numbering and formatting. This bill is sponsored by Councilwoman Teresa Kell Smith and co-sponsored by Councilwoman Erica Strasburger, Deb Gross, and Darlene Harris. Bill number 1743. Resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Cohen and Grigsby, P.C., in an amount not to exceed $4,413.50 for professional legal services in connection with immigration matters. Bill number 1744. Resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in the amount of $18,427.50 to Siegel Waters Consulting in Washington, D.C. for professional consulting services in relation to police arbitration. We have new papers. Bill number 1787. Resolution further amending Resolution 816 of 2015, effective December 2015, as amended, entitled Resolution adopting and approving the 2016 capital budget and the 2016 Community Development Block Grant Program, and approving the 2016 through 2021 Capital Improvement Program by removing unencumbered funds from projects pending closure pursuant to Chapter 218 of the City Code. Bill number 1788. Resolution further amending Resolution 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, as amended, entitled Resolution adopting and approving the 2019 capital budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by reappropriating funds closed due to the requirements of Chapter 218 of the City Code. Bill number 1790. Resolution further amending Resolution 549 of 2012, entitled Providing for an Agreement or Use of Existing Agreements and or Contracts for City Council Neighborhood Needs Program and providing for the payment cost thereof by transferring $45,109.30 from closed and completed projects within District 1 Neighborhood Needs to new priorities within the district. This bill is sponsored by Councilwoman Darlene Harris. Bill number 1791. Resolution further amending and supplementing Resolution 855 of 2011, entitled Adopting and Approving the 2012 Capital Budget by transferring a total of $45,109.30 from completed projects within District 1 Neighborhood Needs to Brighton Heights Citizens Federation, 5 Points Business District of Observatory Hill, and District 1 DPW projects. This bill is sponsored by Councilwoman Darlene Harris. Public Works Committee, Mrs. Kell Smith is the chair. We have deferred papers. Bill number 1637. Resolution authorizing the mayor and the directors of the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Public Works to enter into a lease agreement with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater for a portion of real property located on Liberty Avenue between 29th and 30th Streets. We have new papers, Bill number 1792. Resolution authorizing the transfer by the City of Pittsburgh to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation certain public right-of-way and temporary construction easement rights on certain property of the 4th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh in cooperation with the PennDOT construction project. Land Use and Economic Development Committee, Ms. Gross is the chair. We have a new paper, and it's Bill number 1789. Resolution authorizing the Office of Management and Budget on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to submit a filing of a proposal for funds with the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for the purpose of receiving grant funds that will be used for rapid rehousing homeless services and to thereafter enter into an agreement or agreements with PADCED to accept any grant funds offered to the City of Pittsburgh. That concludes the legislation up for preliminary approval by Pittsburgh City Council. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Good morning and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council Standing Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 26, 2019. First order of business is public comment. Members of the public who want to address City Council, please come forward. You'll be giving 3 minutes. The green light means the beginning of 3 minutes. Yellow light means 1 minute. Summarize. Red light means time has expired. Please relinquish the podium. I'd like to remind everyone that the rules of council state that comment is limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may before council. Profanity will not be permitted and order will be maintained at all times. Will the first speaker please come to the podium?
My name is Yvonne F. Brown. And you know, I'm really concerned because I did not make it here yesterday because I had brought the babies. I wanted to say happy birthday for them to say happy birthday to my daughter. The reason why I'm upset is that you had one proclamation. So that made sure that if we wasn't here at a certain time, we couldn't speak. And there's times you have 20 or more. It's disgusting the way you do it. I'm upset because yesterday, we're supposed to start at 1:30. Mr. Krause was sitting at the table, 1:37, talking to all his guests. 1:40, the white man walks in. He stopped talking to the guests and asked him if he'd come to speak. He's had a conversation going. 1:41, I just questioned, come on, Mr. Krause, why don't you start the hearing? You've never done this before. And he started talking, Sergeant of Arms. He was going to put me out before the meeting started if the Sergeant of Arms had been here. Oh, he keeps playing games. Okay, so at 1:42, he started the hearing. Only two of you, Ms. Harris and him. At the end of the hearing, Mr. Krause permitted that unregistered, look here, Yvonne F. Brown, he let him speak 3 minutes. He said he was supposed to have 1 minute, but since he registered him, I think he sat here and registered him here. Never been done before. Okay, I bring it up because he's a white man, and every time a white man is before me, he favors him. Look how I was in a meeting, hearing. I'm number 1, but I come number 15 is speaking. 30-something people, I wait to the end. Just before the end, a white man comes in. He smiles. My turn come, I walk up. He calls him. I'm here. He calls him while I'm walking. You have also Miss Harris. When I tried to sign up to speak in Homewood, and I figured out it was your clerk, but the other clerk was still, I couldn't sign up. I called Adams, and he'll be a witness. He called, because I was in here to speak. I could not speak. You only allow 10 black or 10 poor people in Homewood to speak. Only 10. Do you know when I tried to speak, sign up here, I got a minute when I went out there in Homewood. Mr. Burgess also took and said, I came one time, Mary Beth said you can't sign up. It's after 10:30. I said, what? Mr. Burgess is busy. I said, Mary Beth, if you don't let me speak, I'm gonna sue you. She said, okay, you can speak. I said, what? But I'm the only one. Do you see how they run this? You're gonna be impeached if I can help it. One woman campaign. I'm gonna get you impeached if I can do it. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, David Testor, Highland Park. Two things. One is that tomorrow afternoon, the Allegheny Conference is holding its visioning session for our next 75 years. And this is, of course, the conference being the corporate sector, and I would assume looking for, yes, keep doing more of the same, but it's really important that people who have an alternative point of view attend and state that to get it on the record. I mean, we've seen in the past where things like our statements have been summarized as qualified support, even though totally in opposition to things. But if we have it on the record, we can at least hold truth to the lie when that might happen. The other thing I have to speak about is the Port Authority situation in Morningside, which, while they're trying to resolve it, it's still not quite working right. I mean, the various things, like there's supposed to be the detour that they put in place, which is dubious anyway, is supposed to be in effect for the full day. And I know this morning there were buses running along the old route, and even though the signs are posted, and then other stops have signs posted incorrectly, etc. So I will be speaking at the Port Authority board meeting on Friday. I'm trying to do this constructively. There are things that can be done. At the city level, there's also things that can be done. For example, when a neighborhood is going to be affected by a major project, then the planning department should be addressing the neighbors to ask what they see as the best on a detour. No permits should be given until something is set in place so that it doesn't adversely impact the neighborhood. I mean, in this case, it was so simple a solution that was never done and still is not being done. But in other neighborhoods, it may be more complicated. I will be asking them to also ask their drivers who know both the people and the routes, which they're not doing now. I'll be preparing a list. I'll be happy to give it to the council representative from the district to forward on. But there are things that the city can do as well as the Port Authority having to do. So I encourage you to address that and deal with that. And primarily on that is to maybe have an ordinance requiring that the administration has a point person who is the liaison from the city to the Port Authority. The Port Authority has a liaison to the public sector, but there needs to be a point person when there are city issues that come up that you as council members, when you have a problem from your district, can contact, and they know who to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing no other speakers, we'll go to the roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Coghill. Here. Mrs. Gross. Here. Mrs. Harris.
Here.
President Kraus.
Here.
Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mrs. Kell-Smith. Mrs. Strasburger.
Here.
Reverend Burgess.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you very much. Good morning, members of council. Good to see everybody this morning. We'll start off with Finance and Law Committee, which I am the chair. We have a supplemental paper.
Bill 1802, resolution amending Resolution 234, which authorized the issuance of a warrant in favor of Timothy Arnold by changing the issuant as follows. In favor of Timothy M. Arnold and his counsel, Villanova Law Offices, in an amount not to exceed $5,400 in full and final settlement of a police matter.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve with discussion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any conversation?
Yes.
Conversation. Anyone from the law department here to discuss this settlement? If not, we'll keep it open. I'm sure you want to request somebody from the law department.
Yes,
If you,
thank you.
if you would do that, thank you very much. All right, that takes us to the next committee, which is deferred paper.
Bill 1338, ordinance amending, supplementing, and correcting the Pittsburgh Code at Title II, Fiscal Article 1, Administrative, so as to add contract and bid information requirements to fiscal impact statements and to further correct numbering and formatting.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion to hold
Second.
1 week.
Motion to hold 1 week. It's probably moved in second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. If you could read 1743, 1744, 1766, and 1767, the next four bills.
Bill 1743, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Cohen and Grisby in an amount not to exceed $4,413.50 for professional legal services in connection with immigration matters. Bill 1744, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in the amount of $18,427.50 to Segal Waters Consulting for professional consultant services in relation to police arbitration. Bill number 1766, resolution authorizing the City of Pittsburgh Ethics Hearing Board to enter into a professional services agreement with DeForest, Kozlanik, Yokitis, and Berardinelli Coppers for professional legal services regarding ethics matters in an amount not to exceed $30,000. Bill number 1767, resolution authorizing the City of Pittsburgh Ethics Hearing Board to enter into a professional services agreement with Rothman Gordon for professional legal services regarding ethics matter in an amount not to exceed $15,000.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Need a second?
Second.
Second. Conversation, Ms. Harris.
Still looking for someone from the law office.
For that first bill, but for these bills, there were executive sessions here. We'll come back.
Oh, no, for, not for 1743 and 44, the other two.
There were executive sessions. They also have been executive sessions.
With an attorney.
So what is it that you want, Mrs. Harris?
I want 1802, 1766, and 1767.
There is someone, I think, from the law department. Is someone from the law department here? Yeah. No, not yet?
They're on their way.
They're on their way. All right.
Thank you.
So which bills did you want an attorney, do you want someone present?
The last two.
All right, so then let's take 43 and 44, at least get them off the table, right?
Right.
All right, we're just voting on bills 1743, 1744. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. We'll leave 66, 67 open. All right, takes us to new papers. I think you can read 1787, 1788 together.
Bill 1787, resolution further amending resolution number 816 by removing unencumbered funds from projects pending closure pursuant to Chapter 218 of the City Code. Bill 1788, resolution further amending resolution number 863 by reappropriating funds closed due to requirements of Chapter 218 of the City Code.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Need a second?
Second.
Any conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Those are approved. Takes us to the next two bills, I think 90 and 91. You can read them together.
Bill 790, resolution further amending resolution 549 by transferring $45,109.30 from closed and completed projects within District 1 neighborhood needs to new priorities within the district. Bill number 1791. Resolution further amending and supplementing Resolution number 855 by transferring a total of $45,109.30 from completed projects within District 1 Neighborhood Needs to Brighton Heights Citizens Federation 5 Points Business District of Observatory Hill in District 1 DPW projects.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve with discussion.
I need a second.
Second.
Any conversation? Seeing no conversation. Mrs. Harris?
Yes, I would like to amend 1790 and 1791. They're in front of you.
Say again?
Second.
What was the motion?
Motion to
Seven.
amend, second.
Second. There's a motion to amend, a second motion to amend is on the table, I believe, in written form. Amendment, and you're just moving money inside your council district. I think there are two amendments.
Right.
Conversations on the
1790.
on the motions. Is there any discussion on amendments? Seeing none on the amendments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there's nay. That takes us to the bills as amended. Conversation about the bills as amended.
Can I just say something in general for the public? It's just that these monies are funds that are allocated to each of our council offices. We each get about 60 to 80, depending on what year it is, $1,000 to allocate to nonprofits within our district for CDBG eligible, community development block grant eligible projects. So when people see it in the budget and they think, well, this area only got this much money or this district, no, this is just our office allocations, not the overall picture. And these are neighborhood needs. This is Mrs. Harris's neighborhood needs funding. So she still has some funding left, right?
Yes.
I'm tapped out.
That might not have been spent by one group.
Yeah, this was money back when Tom
Murphy.
Murphy was in office, and he gave $1 million to each council office to spend the way they wanted to spend. And when I got into office, they told me I had to spend it down, and it was only $3,000 in there, so it was easy. So,
Mine's is gone too. Any other conversation? Mr. Coghill?
I'm sorry, I must have missed the last bill. The $100,000 that was transferred from Wenzel project?
yeah.
I know that's your district, Teresa. What's the deal with that? I mean, when they were here last week, I think I talked to Karina, and she had said that project's still ongoing, but...
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
Yeah, so that money's just reallocated.
Yeah. Is that on here somewhere?
I think it was, yeah.
1790.
Yeah.
1790, okay.
We're
Do we want
on.
somebody to come talk about it?
We already talked about 1790.
Yeah, I hate to, backstep here, but I missed it, and
Yeah, so it's...
I was just concerned.
So the project is ongoing.
Right.
Director Ricks and DPW, Director Gable, they've both been working with PennDOT on a lot of this.
Right.
And some of it was we had to purchase some properties. along the
Yeah,
way.
and we went through all that last year, like we purchased the
yeah,
parts of
yeah.
easements and properties
Yeah.
there. So it's
But
still,
it's slated to start pretty soon, I mean, if they haven't started already.
yeah. I mean, they were gonna do the Carnahan side, but the
They're gonna do-
Wenzel side.
They're gonna do but Wenzel steps and
Yeah, the
railings and
steps,
stuff like that,
but
yeah.
not the turning lane and all that.
So, I think, I'm not sure about the turning lane, but they are doing part of Wenzel.
Yeah.
Just in my district, I don't know why they're stopping there, because there's some issues. That's your road, that's your street, so.
Yeah, I use it
Councilman
every day.
Gross and I know from yesterday from being at your house.
Desperately needs it. So I guess my question is, I'm just asking, that money that was transferred, I understand they transfer money around for different
Yeah.
things, but doesn't halt that project.
It's
at
not
all.
gonna hurt the
Right,
project.
Yeah, okay, that's my concern. Thank you.
Okay, we have Bill 1790, 1791. We have amendments. They have been amended. We are on the original bill, the bills as amended. Any other conversation? Seeing no conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. They are amended. That takes us to the invoices. And we have on the invoices one invoice that's above
Point of
our...
order, I have no invoices.
Here, want to see mine?
So, in order to consider these invoices, we need to make a motion to suspend the rules because there is an invoice amount above our total. It is the second one, under municipal code, codification or ordinances. It's at 45,
Cards.
It's at $4,580. So I need a motion to,
Motion to waive Rule 11.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. That takes us to then, thank you. Now, that we've waived the rules, now I need a motion to approve the invoices.
So moved.
Ms. Second.
Second.
All right, questions on the invoices?
1 second, please. Thank you.
Any other conversation? No other conversation? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. 1, no. Thank you very much. Invoices are
The way that
approved.
I usually
That takes us to the interdepartmental transfers. There are none. There are P cards on the table. I need a motion for the P cards.
Motion to approve.
I need a
Second.
second. Any conversation about the P cards? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. That takes us to the next committee of the day, which is the Public Works Committee. Mrs. Kell Smith is the chair. We have a deferred paper.
Bill 1637, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Parks and Department of Public Works to enter into a lease agreement with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater for a portion of real property located on Liberty Avenue between 29th and 30th Street.
Need a motion.
So, motion to approve with discussion?
Motion
May
to
I?
approve with discussion.
Sorry. I was trying to communicate with Councilwoman. May I?
Yes.
So I just talked with Strip District neighbors again this week. I was able to get a copy of the lease from the administration. I think they're all on the same page, but the neighborhood is planning to have a presentation by the ballet on July 18th. So they asked me to hold until after that one, and I was just looking at my calendar. I think that takes us to July 24th. I think that's a 4-week hold. So if you don't mind, I'll motion to hold 4 weeks.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Next bill, please.
Bill 1792, resolution authorizing the transfer by the city to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation certain public right-of-way and temporary construction easement rights on certain property of the 4th Ward of the city in corporation with a PennDOT construction project.
Need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Need a second? Any conversation? See no comment. Ms. Harris.
Somebody here?
Good morning. And you get a second, could you introduce yourself for the public?
Sure. I'm Jennifer Gula. I'm the Assistant Director of the Finance Department. And I can offer information on this project because we are actually the leaseholders of the property. So it's a project that concerns 376. There's a wall that's currently secured with brackets, but it needs to be completely
East,
replaced.
west?
East.
Okay.
So this would be probably in between Bate Street and like the Birmingham Bridge. So they are looking to replace the wall and extend certain parts of their right-of-way out because they're going to build a new wall in front of the old one. So they already have right-of-way, but they need to extend it. They also need the construction easement to get all of the construction materials there to complete the project.
So is this all ours in this project?
Excuse me?
Is this all city project?
This is a PennDOT project.
Okay. And because they're going to be using some of our property.
They are.
Okay. I just want the public
It'll
to
actually
understand.
somewhat affect the bike trail that's there, but they're going to have it cordoned off so
there's
that
a
the
first.
back bike trail will still be accessible and usable during the project.
Okay. As long as the bike trail's able to be used. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other conversation? Seeing Ms. Gross? Yes, no?
So please, I'm sorry, I was sidebarring. So I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You said there is city property and that the resolution authorizes just the straight transfer of the ownership of that property?
And
to
it's not,
PennDOT?
well, it's not the complete property, it's just a portion of it. So they already own, PennDOT already owns certain right-of-way there.
But you said this is city property, and that's why you're able to
It is, and
speak
so
to
we'll be giving them a little portion of ours in order for them to extend their right-of-way because the build-out of the wall is actually going to go past what they currently own.
All right. And when you say little bit, could you be more descriptive?
I don't actually have the square footage, but if you like that, I would definitely send you the project if you
I
would
think
like.
that would be fair, because I just
There's
don't see a lot
photos
of
as
detail
well.
here. So, you know, this is
Send it
still
all
a
the way
transfer of
around.
rights.
Sure.
And then when we're talking about construction easements, I'm familiar with, you know, in most situations, when we're providing a construction easement, we're receiving payment from PennDOT, especially I've seen other examples. Is that true in this case as well?
They are not paying for this specific easement, but they are they're going to be rerouting a portion of the bike trail in order to make it secure for it to be usable, and they'll be paving it, so in the portion that they may have disrupted. So we won't be paying for that, but we are not giving them, or we're not receiving any compensation for the easement.
Any
I
monetary
find that
compensation.
curious. I find that curious. I've seen other situations, it seems like we receive payment from PennDOT for the use of our public property easements. Just, you know, for example, right, as you mentioned, when they just kind of have construction site needs, right? For the equipment and materials and things like that. I'm familiar, for example, on Butler Street by the zoo and the bridge, that there was a payment. So finance didn't work with them on that?
We did not. All our role is to actually convey the property and perform the real estate transaction. So when they approach us, usually we approach DOMI. In this case, it would be for right-of-way and the administration to see if there was some compensation that they would accept for
Okay.
the right-of-way.
So we're not getting compensated for the easement of the use of our property, and we're not getting compensated for the property that we're giving them.
No.
And I just find that curious.
Mr. Coghill.
Yeah, I wonder, Jennifer, is there instances where, as to what Councilwoman Gross was saying, where PennDOT gave us right-of-ways? Have
There
they
are.
worked with us in the past at no cost?
There are, and I think there's some projects that are currently ongoing that we are working with PennDOT, and so we will be transferring things to them, and they'll be transferring things
Sure.
to us. So
Right.
it.
So it's like
in
a
certain
swap
cases-
system, you feel,
Right.
for the most part. They cooperate with us, we cooperate with them. I wouldn't think this is about 8 or 10 feet if they're building a wall in front
It's
of a wall.
it's not much, but
Yeah,
when
less
I
than that, I was trying to.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if I could pull it up. It's actually less than that.
Is there a road closure involved in
No.
it? No road closure?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a minor inconvenience to the bikes and that's it. Okay, that's it for me.
actually it shouldn't even be that.
Yeah,
So.
great.
Ms. Smith.
I just want to know if you could give us some idea of what we get for an easement and what it costs for the paving and the bikes, because maybe we're actually maybe getting more than we would if we were getting a monetary compensation for
Sure,
an
if
easement.
you like, I could reach out to the PennDOT and see what they
Well,
expect
I-
to spend on that
I'm
portion.
I'm just curious. I think it would be good for the public to know.
Sure.
But for me, I'm okay because I think that we've done this. I've seen this happen all in 10 years. I've seen it happen a lot in different places in our district and across the city. So I'm good with it.
Ms. Harris.
Okay. My understanding is that we're just giving an easement on a right-of-way, that when PennDOT's done, that will still be city property? Yes, no?
Except for that small portion of right-of-way. So the easement is temporary. It won't stay. It'll only be during the duration of the project.
What piece?
They just need access or staging area. So it would be temporary while the project is ongoing, and then when it's done, we're not actually conveying an easement to them, but we will be conveying a right-of-way, which is just a small portion. So that small portion of the current parcel will be conveyed and deeded to PennDOT.
Okay. Could you give me a diagram that shows that? And I would also like to have the information that Councilwoman Gross asked for.
Absolutely, I can
Thank
share
you.
with everyone. So.
Thank you.
Any other conversations? You know the conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Takes us to Land Use Economic Development Committee. Ms. Gross is the chair.
Thank you.
We have supplemental.
very much.
We have supplemental for us. Anyone from the law department come yet? Yes. Okay. So let's go back then. Before I start to the new committee, let's go back to Finance and Law Committee. We have an open paper. I believe it's 2019 1802. I believe that, right? 1802. Oh yeah, I know the other two. So let's go back. If someone from the law department is here to discuss that, Mrs. Harris has the floor. which is the first. You're coming in. Please introduce yourself. We're on the first resolution.
Thank you. I am Julie Corin from the Law Department.
Your last name?
Corin, Koren.
Ms. Harris?
That's your last name, too? First and last name?
Oh, my first name is Julie. Thank you.
Okay, Julie, can you just explain this?
Yes, this is a resolution that we had approved in March of 2019 of this year for a settlement with this individual regarding an incident with the police where he was bit by a dog at this location on the north side. When the legislation initially went through, the settlement amount went directly to the plaintiff. We canceled that check. That was incorrect. We should have directed it to his attorney. So we rewrote the legislation and had it approved to go to his attorney.
Okay, so it didn't go to court, it went for a final settlement. So were we wrong with our canine? Or was this another dog?
No, this involved a canine, and I don't think the canine in particular did anything wrong, but as we discussed in the past, based on the cost of litigation and the other factors involving the issues in the case, we settled at this particular amount to have the case resolved appropriately, and it was approved. And the only issue is not about the canine in this particular case. It was that the paperwork in the law department went to the wrong individual. Instead of sending it to the attorney, we sent it to the plaintiff, and it should have gone to the attorney.
Okay, so the canine officer is not at fault at all?
No, not with this
Okay.
resolution.
Okay, and what part of the north side?
This would have happened on Chestnut Street at a, I'm trying to see if I might be wrong on the road, but it's at the north side that is close to East
I know
Ohio
where it
Street.
is.
And it's you know where it is?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Please stay for the next.
Mr. Coghill?
Or
Hi,
somebody
Julie.
else over there.
Just out of curiosity, do you have any rough idea as to what the city spends in settlements per year on an average?
I wouldn't be able to speak on that at this point.
Right. Because next to information and technology, I feel like we spend an extraordinary amount. And I understand the nature of law, and most times I think it's quicker, easier, and less expensive to settle. But I just would love to see an average over the past 10 years as to what we spend, yearly in settlements. It seems like daily we have $15,000, $12,000 lawsuits, whether it's somebody tripping on a curb or an icicle falling on them. So is there somewhere we can get that figure?
I am not sure where that type of information would be.
Yeah, right. I'm just adding up in my
would talk
head
to the
as to
solicitor, would
like, it
probably be
seems
able
like every week at least, it's gotta be $500,000 a year at least, I would think.
I could not speak on that number.
Okay, I guess, would you get back to me on that, or should I contact somebody on that?
I could probably give you information on how to locate that information if it exists.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Any other conversation? Before I take the vote, I'll say two things. Some combination of the solicitor or the budget director, either one of the two of them would have that information. And the second thing is that the reason this occurs is because we're self-insured. If we were not self-insured, then you wouldn't see these. But because we're self-insured, that's why the city itself makes all these payments, because we're a self-insured entity. With that explanation, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. All right, so then that leaves us to have open bills. I'm not sure if you're here to speak on Bill 66 and 67. And they are two different things. I'll give you a moment to look at it. They're both open. We both have executive sessions. You're here for those bills. Thank you very much. Mrs. Harris again has the floor. Mrs. Harris.
Okay, please give your titles. You already gave your title.
Hi, my name is Leanne Davis. I'm the executive manager of the Ethics Hearing Board.
Okay, I really don't need you at the table. I just need our attorney, so thank you for being here.
If she could just have a moment to explain a little bit about what her position is, and she would be the individual that would have the knowledge on these two bills.
Okay, but usually attorneys come through the law department, right?
Yes, she's in the ethics department, which is in the umbrella of the law department.
But usually anything comes straight from the law department first, so that's where my questions go to.
These are not, these bills are from the Pittsburgh Ethic Hearing Board.
So that means that Public Works, Public Safety, everybody can hire their own attorneys and go
Well, let's
from there.
hear, if you do not mind.
Sure.
Let's hear her explanation, and then we can go at it from there. Thank you very much. It's always good to have you.
Thank you. So the Ethics Hearing Board is an independent agency within the city government. One of our functions is to process complaints that are received relating to campaign finance violations and other ethics violations. So in order to process those, we do administrative hearings, which is a sort of what you call it a quasi-judicial tribunal. And in order to enforce those, we would take those matters to court. So these two bills discuss those matters. They had previously been issued on a invoice basis, and I understand it's more appropriate to put these matters under a contract. So that's why I'm here before you today, to try to formalize that.
So these are bills that you're entering into contract for these services.
That's correct. We've previously worked with these individuals on an invoice basis.
Okay. Ms. Harris, do you have other comments? You still have the floor.
Yes, I really don't need you at the table, so if you would please leave.
Unanimous consent. Unanimous consent.
If one council member
Unanimous
objects,
consent. Unanimous consent.
No, look it up.
Unanimous consent only applies to non-city employees. It does not.
Could you please read that section to me?
I don't have to read it to you. I'm telling you what it says.
Well, I know what it says.
I'm
Can we
telling
not do
you,
this at the
first of
table,
all,
please?
for
Okay,
the-
Rev, any questions anybody else has that I'm asking her?
you don't have to ask her a
remove
question. I'm just
herself?
saying that you can't remove her from the table.
Okay, show me. Then that means that
Well, I'm not, well, first of all, because I'm chairing the
one
meeting.
council person objects.
So as the chair of this meeting, I'm going to make a ruling. I'm telling you what the rule states. Unanimous consent does not apply to government officials. It applies to non-government officials. Any other person, you can do this. You cannot do this to people who are employees of the city. You cannot.
Okay.
So
Could you please get the law?
I will get it
and we'll
to you
read
before.
it.
I will get it to you before the end of the day. Trust me, what I just told you is true. It's absolutely true. So you do not have to talk to her, but you cannot dismiss her. So let's have
Okay,
this
we'll do it
conversation.
that way. Okay.
All right. So any other conversations?
Yes. So did the law department bring these forward?
I do not have knowledge of whether or not that's the case.
Who does?
I believe
They come from the.
someone from ethics would.
Okay, so that means if ethics can hire attorneys and not the law department, that if Public Works or Public Safety or any of our other departments need legal staff, they could hire their own attorneys, correct?
I don't know.
Well, I think if you look at the rules again, that everything is supposed to come from our law department.
They're independent
These
entities.
two,
They're an independent entity, just like they're no different than the Police Civilian Review Board. Their solicitor also is independent, it also comes to council. This is not an aberration. This occurs in many other forms of our government.
okay, so this is just for council now. I don't need either one of you. I got a letter from the law department yesterday. And in the letter, it says that, well, first, let me go back. We had a executive session yesterday, and I'm usually the only one that goes to executive session. So I go, and just like I didn't know Julie here this morning, I did not know this lady either. So I was asking questions as thinking I was talking to the law department, finding out at the end that I was talking to Miss Leanne here, which I've never been into an executive session for hiring of attorneys. By the way, this is only for this council, is who I'm speaking to right now. Because it in this letter, it says that I should talk to council about this and not vote. So I choose to do that publicly with council because, after you have 5 votes or 5 people in a room, it's a public matter. So I choose to talk publicly. So I asked questions thinking, again, that I was talking to someone from the law department. Now, as you know, and as the papers have stated, that there was a law went through that was brought through council, stating that when we are running for election, that we need to show how much money we have each month to the ethics board. And 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. And the only ones that I think that we should give our information to is Allegheny County Election Bureau, because we do not have an election bureau. So I did not give them last time, which I guess this is what this is about. And nor did I give it this time, because the only one that really would have access to it is the mayor. So I chose not to leave the mayor see what I had in my money. When the county, as the election bureau, asks for what you have, I am on time with all my paperwork. And also when Michael Lamb, our solicitor, I also share with them, just like everyone else does, except for supposedly 11 of us that stand out differently than everyone else in the county. So I get this from the attorney for the city yesterday that says I can talk to the council people and explain this. And I wasn't told that any of these attorneys for $30,000 or $15,000 had anything to do with me. I was asking, have we ever done this before? And the answer was no. So it says in the Home Rule Charter, if I have a personal or private interest in any legislation, if I'm gaining from any legislation, that, the gag order should be on. So I don't feel that I should not speak as a council member to my council members. And I've just disclosed the facts. If any of you have any questions for me, it's the same as the bill that was passed for decriminalization of marijuana, which doesn't mean anything. Once it goes to court, judge says that's not the law. Same as the gun legislation.
May I have a
Has
point of order?
nothing, no, not right
I'm
now.
really not
I'm
understanding.
trying to explain to you where
So-
I'm coming from.
This is just a vote on the allocation of
I would, right, and
I'll just say,
I
point
would
of order.
like to have the floor.
Councilwoman Harris, this is a very long conversation that I think you've said many times that you wanted to talk to other council members about, and that's probably, I'm not sure how it's relevant to
This came yesterday
the.
to talk to the council members. I do not have any kind of gain from any of this.
Right, we're worried that you have something to lose, so we're trying to get you to talk to us.
Huh?
So if you could, you've talked to us.
I am talking.
You're talking to us.
The council.
Right, and we've
and
elected-
making sure that the council knows publicly.
Yep.
So I have just
Disclosed.
disclosed the facts to my council. Right, Dan?
So,
Right, Dan? Okay, I just want to make sure
we
everyone
understand,
heard.
and we've given you the time to do it.
And what I will be doing today, since I haven't talked to my attorney, is I'll be abstaining from these two bills.
Thank you very much.
And I wanted to explain everything and make sure the entire council knows what this has to do.
It's okay.
I would think it should be held a
Call the
week,
vote. Call the vote.
So listen.
Call the
but
vote.
we will see.
Make a motion.
Call
What
the
happens?
vote.
Listen, let her finish. There's no harm.
Enough. We have guests at the table.
What I
This
am
is why this
saying-
bill went into executive session. There's no need to subject our guests to this.
She's not-
Call
It
the
was an
vote.
illegal executive session.
So listen. Mrs. Harris, you have disclosed your reason for your abstention. It has been
That is
received.
why
So
I have stated this, and my finishing part is I haven't been able to talk to my attorney, and it would be nice if it would be held, but that's up to the council because I'll be abstaining.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
So there is a, Mr. Coghill?
I just have a quick, I'll be short and sweet. Last year when we talked, it wasn't you, but whoever was running the department, I mentioned about, your due dates I'm all for transparency for campaign finance reports. Your due dates, I said, gosh almighty, can we please, in the name of efficiency in government, coordinate with the county? And I'm trying to get Michael Lamb's office as well on board where, because I think yours is like 2 or 3 weeks off of what the county's is, and things change. You make expenditures and donations come in, and it just makes it a nightmare. It's like you have to do the campaign finance report all over again. And just in a matter of a layer of government that I feel,
not saying nasty
again,
things.
I have no problem with the ethics board. I have no problem with the transparency of it. I think that's a good thing, but I wish we could be on the same page as the county. When their due date is, why can't ours due date? I mean, it seems like a simple thing to do, and I have a hard time supporting anything funding goes towards that if we can't change that simple rule, that's all. So is there a chance we could find out about that, or has anything changed? Let me ask you that.
Yes, that's something that I would like to propose. Specifically, the due date. Right now. It's currently the first of the month for the 3 months prior to any election, and at least one of those months will coordinate with the county. It may be a little bit more difficult to coordinate with the city comptroller's office, since that's in the home rule charter provision. And I understand the state law. That's it would be easier, more efficient
2 out
for
of
us to
3 are
change
good.
our
If you could get
code.
on the same page as the
Okay.
county, that would make me happy.
Right.
I mean, I think you require a lot more reporting too. Do you not? It's like every month. You have to turn in
I understand the
finance
legislative
report.
intent for that is for increased transparency and
Yeah,
accountability.
Which creates inefficiency,
yeah.
in my opinion, and it makes it hard for people who are running who don't know the process. It's so easy for them to miss one of your monthly campaign finance
Yeah.
reports, and to have that hanging over their head like, oh, they might not be able to get on the ballot for it. I think it's unfair to, transparency is great, but I think we're handicapping people who are not familiar or who can't afford to hire, people to take care of this for them. So.
Yeah,
And I
I
was one of them, so I actually went through the daunting task of, not me, but some people close to me, and it was real pain. And it seems like such a simple change as to, can we get on the same page and maybe cut down the number of,
That if you may recall that singular improvement has already been effectuated. It had been the 5 months prior to any election, which would be prior to when people would register with the county. So I've been able to coordinate with the county office and to change our law to it's only the 3 months prior to any election, so that we can, when people go into the county to get their nomination, their petitions to fill out, they get a letter from our office as well. With some information, and I've been able to reach out to people
that would be
that
great.
way.
Yeah. All I'm asking for is a simple, like, can the counties do this day? Let's make the city do that day, and this way I could drop one off at the city, drop one off at the county, and be done with it, and not worry about next week's finance report that may have changes that I feel like I have to, It's double the work. I mean, it's really inefficient, I feel, but,
With the state guidelines, I believe local candidates are only required to file basically a few weeks before that final election. So possibly we could coordinate that final month. So it's, an overlapping of, you only have to do one accounting for that month.
Any coordination as far as, making sure that we could make this less complicated for people, I would appreciate. I really would.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coghill. Ms. Smith, do you have something?
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree with Councilman Coghill, but I actually think we should only be dropping them off at one place at the county, and I do believe that maybe we should just get copies from them. I mean, you do so much electronically now, we'd save a lot of paper too, so there's a lot of benefit to it. But I want to say that I'm, concerned with the comments Councilwoman Harris was making, but I don't know that you're the people to make it to, and I think that that's something we need to have some conversations, and maybe we need to address some legislation ourselves to make some of the changes and some of the things, and working with our county elected officials, and we have some good relationships there. I think maybe we should address some of the things that we're concerned with. But what I will say is that I'm going to abstain today until I have a chance to talk to Councilwoman Harris, and I do believe that when we're talking about ethics and we're having meetings and we're having briefings, that, if anything, should be public. Those conversations should be public,
Right.
because we're talking about ethics and doing everything very transparently, but yet we're having the meeting behind closed doors. So
Right.
it does sound like an oxymoron, sort of thing. So I'll just say that I'll abstain today, but I want to thank you both for being here, and say that I think the conversations need to be internally and with the solicitor and some other folks.
The motion to approve for 1766, 1777, on 67, sorry, 1766, 1767. A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Coghill.
Abstain.
Mrs. Gross.
Abstain.
Mrs. Harris.
Abstain.
President Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Kell Smith.
Abstain.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Abstain.
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
3 ayes and 5 abstentions.
Okay. Negative recommendation. That takes us to then the last committee. Thank you very much. That
Thank
takes
you
us
both.
to
Have a nice day.
the next committee, which is the Public Works Committee, not the last committee. Public?
We did
No,
Public
it
Works.
takes us to Land Use and Economic Development Committee. Ms. Gross is the chair. All right, and we can read, I believe, bills 1816 through 1821 together.
Okay. Bill 1816, resolution, amending Resolution 280, so as to perform reprogramming within City Council from North Side Senior Programming, Southwest Pittsburgh CDC, to Allegheny West, $3,500, and Zealous Hope Project, $3,000. Bill number 1817, resolution amending resolution number 281, so as to perform reprogramming within City Council from Northside Senior Programming, Southwest Pittsburgh CDC, to Allegheny West $3,500, and Zealous Hope Project $3,000. Bill number 1818, resolution amending resolution 278, so as to reprogram funds within City Council's office from Parks and Recreation Northside Senior Programming to Kitchen of Grace $2,000, Allegheny West $7,530, and Cameron Welch Youth Baseball $2,970. Bill number 1819, resolution amending resolution number 279, so as to reprogram funds within City Council from Parks and Recreation Northside Senior Programming to Kitchen of Grace $2,000, Allegheny West $7,530, and Cameron Welch Youth Baseball $2,970. Bill number 1820, resolution amending resolution 368, so to correct typographical errors, to reprogram funds from OMB Citizens Participation to the Mayor's Office for Pittsburgh Partnership for Neighborhood Development, Neighborhood Allies, $140,000, and to perform reprogramming within City Council from Poise Foundation, Holy Wisdom Parish Food Bank, Preservation Pittsburgh Allegheny City Historic Gallery, and District 1, to Cameron Welch Youth Baseball, $12,030. District 1 Department of Public Works Project, $12,270. Troy Hill Community Center, $10,000. Brothers and Sisters Emergent, $8,000. Urban Academy of Greater Pittsburgh Charter School, $12,500. Naomi's Place Transitional Housing, $10,000. Earthen Vessels Outreach, $7,500. Reading is Fundamental, $7,000. And Community Theater Corporation doing business as Kelly Strayhorn Theater, $10,000. Bill number 1821, resolution amending resolution 369, so as to perform reprogramming within City Council from Poise Foundation, Holy Wisdom Parish Food Bank, Preservation Pittsburgh Allegheny City Historic Gallery, and District 1, to Cameron Welch Youth Baseball, $12,030. District 1 Department of Public Works Project, $12,270. Troy Hill Community Center, $10,000. Brothers and Sisters Emergent, $8,000. Urban Academy of Greater Pittsburgh Charter School, $12,500. Naomi's Place Traditional Housing, $10,000. Earthen Vessels Outreach, $7,500. Reading is Fundamental, $7,000. And Community Theater Corporation, Kelly Strayhorn Theater, $10,000.
I need a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Need a second.
Second discussion.
Second discussion. We have an amendment, Ms. Harris.
Yes, I have two amendments that are sitting in front of you. There were a couple errors, I believe, on the numbering. That's for Bill. I'm going to make a motion to amend Bill 1819, and there's one more.
These are two different ones, or is it?
And 1818.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Motion to amend on the table.
Second.
Any any other conversation about the amendment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. That brings us to the original bills. Any more conversation about the original bills? Ms. Smith?
I just want to say real quickly that Zealous Hope project is a project Missy Zealous has, and so she does amazing work. She was a National Jefferson Award winner, and she started a program when she as soon as she could. And so I'll just say that she does a lot of great work, but it's one of those programs that, struggles for funding, where a lot of people struggle for funding, but she does amazing things, and I wish that more funders and more folks would know about the great work she does in not only our area, but in the McKees Rock, Stowe Rocks area. She's just a real treasure to the community.
Any other conversation first round? No other conversation first round, second round, Ms. Harris?
yes, we amended this, right?
Already made the amendments.
Okay.
Motion
I
to-
mean, we voted on the amendments.
Yes.
Yes, we voted on the amendments.
Okay.
We're now on the original
I
bills.
just want to say to Councilman Smith, you brought her in one time, right? We met
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yes. Very nice people.
Any other conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. We have a new paper.
Bill 1789, resolution authorizing the Office of Management and Budget on behalf of the city to submit a filing of a proposal for funds with the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for the purpose of receiving grant funds that will be used for rapid rehousing services, and to thereafter enter into an agreement with PADCED to accept any grant funds offered to the city.
Need a motion, Ms. Gross.
Motion to approve with discussion,
Need a
please.
second.
Second.
Ms. Gross.
Yes, thank you. I believe some people from OMB are here, and I know that I've got some people who are eager to hear about the grant. Are they in the, hello? We have OMB, can you come to the table? Thank you. I've already had some inquiries about this. It's wonderful to hear about rapid rehousing. So our text file didn't have details, and last week when we had it as a new paper, I reached out to administration and let them know that we were going to want to hear a little bit of the backstory for what the grant is about.
Dave
Thank you.
Hutchinson, Assistant Director, Capital and Asset Management.
I'm Elizabeth Daniels Totten. I'm the CDBG Program Supervisor with Office of Management and Budget.
Thank you. We often hear about this kind of emergency services grants from CDBG, but this one is coming through DCED. And so I think it's a new grant source for us. Is that right, or am I wrong?
We apply to PADCED for an additional source of funding. PADCED funds ESG programs throughout the state to different counties that have their own entitlement jurisdictions. But they also set a portion of their funds aside every year to possibly fund jurisdictions like the city of Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, which, while they have their own jurisdictions, their own entitlement grant from the federal government for ESG, we can also apply to the state for these additional funds.
So they may be the original sources, but it's additional to our typical allocation directly to the city of Pittsburgh from CDBG. Got it. Yes, that's wonderful. And so can you tell us kind of what the grant request says? So you're proposing to file the proposal?
Yes.
And so the proposal has not been filed?
No, I'm sorry. I spoke incorrectly. We filed the proposal. We did not include a resolution from the city supporting the proposal. We indicated that the resolution would be forthcoming after it was voted on by council.
Fair. And so you've already written it. So can you share with us a little bit of what you see this grant going towards?
Sure. So this is particularly for rapid rehousing assistance. ESG funds can fund emergency shelters and street outreach programs, but through the state and in their priorities for what these additional funds might go to, they would only like to fund rapid rehousing assistance. So rapid rehousing assistance assists persons who are literally homeless, meaning they're in an emergency shelter or living on the street, to locate housing, be quickly housed, and then they can receive up to 12 months of forward rent assistance and or utility assistance going along with that, as well as case management services for the course of the time that they receive the assistance, and then they can receive up to 6 months of case management after the financial assistance ends. So we're
Go ahead.
particularly applying for those rapid rehousing fundings. We're applying what the state calls on behalf of a nonprofit organization, Auberly. We're applying for $250,000 in funds to hopefully assist approximately 25 households. Auberly will be offering services out of their offices on Wood Street, Kalmans, down here across from YWCA. And after the persons are housed, they will have once monthly home visits with the clients. Auberly is highly recommended by our peers at Allegheny County Department of Human Services. They're already a successful housing provider for these types of funds. They're currently housing people within an average of 18 days from the time that they enter the program, and that they see that in their small program that they're running right now, all of their clients are either maintaining or increasing income. And in particular, they have a special resource, the Employment Institute, which our peers at Department of Human Services thought would be particularly helpful for this population in making sure that people were stably housed at the time the financial assistance ends.
I know that I've been following the policy of kind of housing first in other cities, and I know that, we've been striving in the city as well to make sure that we're providing, as much housing as possible to our homeless population. I haven't been able to get a sense, I'm not sure any of us have a good sense of really how we're doing with, and how big is our homeless population. I think most council members have some, camping communities in their districts, and so we're kind of aware, kind of the ebb and flow of maybe particular sites in our districts. So do you have any in preparing the grant and working on these issues? Is there any better picture you can paint for us?
So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. One of the things that Department of Human Services administers every year is a point-in-time count. And this year they actually extended that to make sure we had more volunteers and we're going to more places, not just the usual communities that we tend to see people. And that gets, so because of that thoroughness, we think we get a pretty exact number of how many people are street homeless at any given time. They actually went on the coldest night of the year this year. And they count people who are in shelters at that time as well as being literally homeless. So that's a pretty specific number I could give you. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, I'm glad to know that we are continuing to monitor it and coordinate with both county and state agencies in order to make sure that we are, seeing how well we do, because of course this is always in flux, right? I mean, there are additional people who become homeless or who move into the city and are homeless, or however the population goes, and that's seasonal as well, and it depends on a lot of different factors. So you may or may not know this. So we're going to contract with Auberly.
If these funds are awarded,
if they're awarded. So we're applying as, they're basically almost like a fiscal agent. I don't know if that's the proper legal term, but you said we're applying on behalf of this nonprofit, rather than them applying themselves, because I assume that the municipality has to be the applicant.
That's right. That's right.
And so then they would be the kind of case managers and the point of contact for the rehousing. And then Auberly is particularly good at housing in shelters or in placing in temporary housing within 18 days.
Yes.
But I assume like the more effective we are at engaging the people who need housing, the more demand for that housing we have. And so I'm worried about this kind of supply and demand relationship, right? We know that we have affordable housing shortages in a lot of places in the city, and that is something, again, that is just kind of take a multi-jurisdictional coordination, because that provision, the provider of social services is mainly the county government, right? And so we're depending and trying to coordinate with them. Are we housing people then inside the city, or is Auberly kind of like just looking at the whole county?
So it's not a requirement of these funds that people be housed within the city. HUD recognizes that although these are funds to the city of Pittsburgh, and that we'd like, for what we talk to the agencies about is that we'd like them to be looking for city of Pittsburgh units. The other part of Housing First is that the client is not allowed to, but the client's household choice is up to them, and that they're picking a unit that it maybe is someplace that they can get to a bus line, someplace that they can get to their job, or someplace that they have their support networks. And that might be, and someplace that's affordable after the assistance ends. So that might be someplace outside of the city limits. So yes, they can go outside of the city limits to other places within the county. Does that answer your question?
It does. What I'm happy to hear about is that we're trying to require that there is a prioritization and a robust kind of attempt to find available units in the city. And that, secondly, that the actual person who needs to be rehomed or rehoused is given a choice, right? And so those are two important things. But I'm glad I asked the question, because I do feel like if this is the City of Pittsburgh program requesting the grants, that I would like to know, I think, how it goes, right? So what is the term of the funding if we were to receive it?
We won't know until this state issues their award letter and then tells us what their contract will be with us. The last time they did a contract, it was, I think it was a November 1st start date, and it is for 18 months. So
Okay, it's an 18-month period, possibly starting in the fall if we were to receive the funds. And so maybe 6-month updates would be, I think, welcome, so that we've had, I think, a lot of fair criticism from advocates across the city that we should not be driving our less fortunate constituents out of the city. I think that's a fair, criticism. And so I think we should be wary and cognizant of, us. Our job certainly is want to help people get into homes who want to be in homes, but then also that we shouldn't be kind of a shuttle service outside of the city limits. That's not our function here. So we want to, I think I would love to see some, first of all, we would have to have a vote to receive the funds, or no, if we vote yes today? Would this be coming back to us to receive the funds?
That's included, yeah.
Yep.
For the
Okay,
purpose of
so
receiving the
we'll
funds.
we'll all know if we receive these funds, and when that clock starts, if we're fortunate enough to receive them in the fall, and then we can request to see how the program goes. And really, I think we've just had a lot of discussion over the last few years with some of our colleagues spearheading this discussion of affordable housing and raising all of our awareness to see kind of how we're doing and being able to rehouse people in the city. So thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris.
Yes, I had a question. How much are we asking for?
250,000.
Okay, 250,000. Okay, have we done this in the past?
Yes, not in the last 4 years. We apply jointly. We run our ESG program very coordinatedly with Allegheny County Economic Development. So each year we take turns applying for the funds, and Allegheny County Economic Development applied last year. They were awarded the funds last year.
Okay, so the funds that go to Allegheny County, do they go to Allegheny County homeless, or?
All of the funds assist people through the Allegheny Link, which is the coordinated intake program for our centralized homeless system. So anyone who is homeless and presents as homeless within the city of Pittsburgh or Allegheny County and is referred to by our street outreach teams or however, or self-referral, they would go through this coordinated entry system at the link. And then the link would refer people to the program.
Okay, so this is any homeless that you find in the city. I talk to the homeless because I'm very curious on where they're from. And I have to say, last time I talked to about 59, I had New York, Ohio, a lot of different suburbs of the city, and only one from Polish Hill, which shocked me. I would have thought that they would have been homeless more from the city of Pittsburgh. So I guess we're drawing more homeless into the city. And I'm hoping that we find homes for these people, especially when it's not even a percentage of those that live here sometimes. Now, our veterans, how are we treating our veterans? I know they have programs, but what's happening to get our veterans to those programs?
I believe veterans are a prioritized population within the link. I'm not sure. I can get back to you on that. But that means that if there was a homeless veteran presenting to coordinated entry, that they would automatically rise to the top of the list.
Okay. And another large population are those that have alcohol and drug issues. And they need rehabs badly. Do we do anything to try to take those folks into rehabs? I mean, I've seen them slit their wrists. I've seen them have babies. I mean, all kind of things that go on once they become homeless. And having a home is one thing, but if you have a drug and alcohol problem, then you also need a rehab to help you with that problem. Do we do anything with rehabs?
So these funds will assist people who need placement coming out of an institution. So these funds are particularly about the housing part of the component.
So not to help them get problems with mental health and drug and alcohol.
I think...
I mean, because that's really the bottom line with a lot of people. Same with our vets. I mean, there's a lot of...
Yeah. It's up to the county to make sure those services are wrapped around services and that they're continuing services. But I agree that we should
they're
make sure.
In our neighborhoods, and I have a great deal, and I go around talking to these people, and I find out, that, issues that they have, and then I find out when there are medical issues that happen when our paramedics have to go to these tents where they're in. To me, that's not a home, and that's not helping them get better. To offer them mental health for some, and rehab and housing would probably be the best. And I was just wondering if we do anything to try to help where the problem comes from.
So I guess to add to what I said previously, the other thing we would look for is while these funds are limited to just assisting with housing, we review the applications for what other assistance the agency is able to provide and hope that these funds are then leveraged to what we are actually required to ask to provide match. We send that requirement back down to the agency. So for every $250,000, if we were awarded that amount, the agency must supply $250,000. And that for Auberly, for them, they committed to committing services through the Employment Institute and also through behavioral health services, kind of like what you're talking about. So these funds hopefully can leverage that kind of resource from the agency in providing additional supportive services.
Okay, because it's rapid out there, and just to talk to some of these folks, not the ones that just come out of their houses and hold the cardboard to make money, but I'm talking about the real homeless that are out there. And I was hoping that for what you're asking for here, that the county is helping because their services are for the mental health and the rehabs, and that's not the city of Pittsburgh, but are you getting funds from that direction too to help in these areas?
So our funds, I think, are in addition and support whatever Department of Human Services is doing. We have a lot of coordination with them through the Homeless Advisory Board, through this application process. We had the Department of Human Services administrators on the board giving us their analysis of what the providers are doing and what they're seeing as trends. So we try, and we are required through the HERTH Act to coordinate with the Department of Human Services because they are our local CO, Continuum of Care infrastructure organization. So we're required to coordinate with them on a pretty consistent level.
Thank you.
Any other conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. That takes us to the last committee of the day, which is the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. Mr. Carter is the chair. We have deferred paper.
Bill 1735. Resolution requesting the approval of an intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license from Gregory's Restaurant, Inc. to the applicant Woods House LLC for the premises located at 4604 Monongahela Street, restaurant known as Woods House.
Need a motion, Mr. Kraus?
Motion to hold 1 week, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other conversation on the hold? Ms. Harris?
Yes, we did have a public hearing on this.
Yes.
That was out.
Yes.
So we're holding it.
We're going to hold it for 1 week. All right,
Okay.
Councilman's not here. We will hold it for 1 week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. All right, any other things before I make some explanations for the good of council?
Motions and resolutions, I have some.
Huh?
In motions and resolutions, this is it.
Yes, we're in the motions and resolution part. There's an announcement due to the 4th of July holiday next week. Council will hold both their legislative and standing committee meeting on Monday, July 1st at 10 a.m. and 1:30 respectively. Another announcement, Miss.
I just want to remind folks that the Juneteenth parade is this Saturday. They have a gala on Friday night, but on Saturday is the parade. It's also the viewing for Miss Ann Kelly, Guy Kelly's mother, who passed away at the Salvation Army in Ferrywood. So I'll be at the viewing. So I'll miss although I am a sponsor of the Juneteenth event and have been since they first started the events. I want to say thank B. Marshall for his work on this. He's done a lot of work on the Juneteenth event and a lot of the things that he works on and the Stop the Violence organization that he's involved with. So I thank him for his work on that and wish him a successful parade. But I will be there on Friday evening where they're honoring several people in the community who do a lot in the African American community in our district. Kia Ingram and Sister Mary Ellie Barbara Williams, who has the SALT Save a Life Today event program. They're both being honored, so I want to thank him for honoring those folks as well. But to remind folks that the parade is this Saturday and that the viewing for Miss Kelly is also on Saturday. Thank you.
Any other conversation? Let me sort of, if you give me just a few seconds, because I think it's important to explain these things publicly also, because in case they come back up in front of council, we'll at least have sort of the right idea of how to move. So first of all, Mrs. Harris is right. That is, we do have a rule of unanimous consent. However, it has been our practice since I've been a member of council not to enforce it for members of the government. And so we've never banned a member of government from being before us. We've not used that rule for them. The rule exists, but we've never used it. It's
under different councils with you there.
There's a standing agreement not to do that for government. We've never applied it to government. Number two, when Ms. Harris is having the conversation, of some of which I'm actually sympathetic to, in terms of the finance law, I'm of the belief, have been of the belief, that it is a county function. And it's not been settled law, but I actually personally believe that, even though I have voted for the campaign finance law in the city, I actually believe it's illegal. I do not think it can be enforced in a court. That's my own personal opinion. I think that all the rules of finance must be countywide. But I have followed voluntarily all the ethic rules that the city has done, even though I do not think they are enforceable. So I do have some sympathy to your position. However, in terms of today, what should have happened, and even though my ruling was right, it was for the wrong reason. What you should have done is recuse yourself from, because you have standing matters before them. Your reclusal meant that you should not have voted at all. You shouldn't have abstained. You should not have voted. When you abstain, your vote still counts as part of the vote total. When you recluse yourself and don't vote, the whole vote gets reduced by 1. So that if there are, 9 of us and you recluse yourself, then only 8 people vote. And so everyone else can abstain. Her real vote should have been a recusal, which meant it should have been 3 out of 8 versus 3 out of whatever it is, 3 out of 7 versus 3 out of 8. So and that the conversation, other than recusal, in terms of explaining her position, was pretty much inappropriate because, again, she has a case before them. She should have simply said, because of her legal position, she should have reclused and not participate in conversations on these bills. After the bills were over, of course, she could have made her statements to us in infinitum, as long as she wanted to. Lastly, and this is simply my own perspective, having been on council now in both a place where I've been with a mayor, I've been not in favor of a mayor, I've been with a mayor, I've been on a majority of council in terms of 5 votes, a minority of council, and so I take really, really seriously the opportunity of members to speak, because I've been at times the guy who spoke forever, right? I've been in that position myself, and it's been the only place I've had was this table. So I will tend to err on the side of caution of stopping a member from talking and going to the vote. That's just my own personal perspective. However, since it seems like we're going to go down this road first few months, I will say this. I will also move for clarity after today's meeting, because sometimes when members aren't clear, it's reason that other members get impatient because we don't understand the purpose or the intent or the conversation. And so I will try in future meetings to make sure that we are clear on what we're having the conversation about. And with that, I won't say anything else. Ms. Ayers.
Sure. As stated in the piece that I received from the attorneys, I wanted to do what was right and talk to my council members. And that's what I did, because it would be illegal to have all 9 members in one room together. Also, I just have never seen some of the meetings that are going on behind closed doors when they shouldn't. And yesterday was one. So I strongly believe that, they said, talk to your council members, let them know. That's exactly what I did. I did it publicly so that the public also could hear, which I have to if I'm dealing with 9 members, right?
Right thing, wrong time.
Well, I think this was given to me yesterday at 4 o'clock.
Still, wrong time.
So I can't help what you think, Rev.
That's what
What you think is one thing, but I needed to talk to my members, and that's exactly what I did at this table today. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's actually a state ethics law that says you cannot participate in things in which you have a case before them. It's not.
Don't take me to court.
I'm not trying to. I'm just
Well,
trying.
I don't even want to hear it, Rev, because you don't go by the rules. And I stated rules today, and we don't use these rules. We choose what rules that we want to obey. And that's wrong. And we choose to vote on things that are state or county or federal government, which is wrong. So we all are different people, and we all vote different ways. And I don't need a preacher right now. That's it.
I've actually tried to be your friend, not a preacher.
Thank you for being my friend.
And
Rev,
so-
I'm your friend,
I
too.
know, and I understand your situation, and we will be kind
There
and
is
patient
no
with
situation.
you. We'll be kind and patient with you during this process. Any other conversation?
I'm just going to say that I agree with that, Councilwoman Harris, that we are being, I do hear people being short with one another. I remember when our meetings would take up until 7:30 at night sometimes, and you know that,
Yeah,
when
I
Doug
was I
Shields
told
and
you, I was
other
there.
were here. I mean, I'd sit here sometimes from 10 o'clock till, I was telling Councilwoman Gross and Councilman Caldwell yesterday, we were all together, and I just said, I remember in our meetings, one time there was 7 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 at night, and it was like no break, and I thought I was going to go out of my mind. But at the same time, we all sat there and listened to people talk and had respect. This is what we're here for. We're here to represent the people and to do their work. And if we're in such a hurry to get out of here because we have something, the next best thing to go on to, we're not really doing due diligence sometimes on some of the bills that we should be. And that's all I want to say. I think even though sometimes it does become,
It's true.
we're doing the work of the people, and sometimes we have to have time to talk through things. But having said that, I want to wish the clerk happy birthday because I didn't get to do that yesterday. So happy birthday. I hope you had a great day.
Happy birthday to our efficient, great clerk. Any other conversation? If no conversation, thank you, members. I need a motion to excuse the absent member, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. We are adjourned.